Hello. We are here to chat about tonight's episode of Arrow. It was episode 7 of season 7, entitled The Slabside Redemption. And let me tell you, I hope I was not the only person who had to do some quick reading on Shawshank. I knew that it was I knew the title was referencing Shawshank Redemption, but I had to do a little bit of research on Shawshank Redemption for this episode because I either have never seen Shawshank Redemption, which is possible, or I can't remember watching, or it's possible I've slept through it before. Anyways, suffice it to say, I'm not coming at this from a position of authority on Shawshank Redemption. Perhaps a bit of a position of authority on Arrow, though. And I'm really curious to hear what you guys thought about tonight's episode of Arrow. I'm always curious to hear what you think, but I think I'm especially curious tonight because it was such a different format. You know, prior to this, during the episode, I was chatting with some people on Twitter, and they were pointing out, okay, some points in previous seasons, we've had episodes that are all flashbacks, like 100% flashback episodes, or 100% my makeup is just melting off today, or 100% flashback. I'm sure this season will probably eventually get 100% flash forward one, etc. But this one was not the only one, but one of the only ones where everything centers around just one location, not just a matter of one time. Other instances I can think of where very strongly centered around just one location was the episode, I want to say it's in season 5, when Oliver and Felicity are stuck in the Arrow Cave, and Oliver has to like claw his way out, and Diggle pulls him up, and like they almost leave Felicity behind, you know, like the whole thing, and Curtis sends it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Anyways, there's been sometimes like that. I think the one where Prometheus is torturing Oliver when he has him sort of chained up in that cave, most of the episode takes place in there. But in this one, we have the whole episode taking place in the prison. So I'm very curious to see what you guys thought of that, because I think from what I've seen from comments in the first 6 episodes we've done this, and have been so great. Like, you guys have been very vocal this season about what you've been thinking about episodes, which makes this so much more fun for me. It's like exactly what I wanted, just that chance to sort of chat about the episode. I've seen so many positive comments about the prison setting. I, too, have really been enjoying the prison setting. So I'm curious what you think about 100% prison setting as our final farewell to the prison setting. So let's see. Stormy, Amanda, Carrie, Bruna, Mimi, all say hi. Hello. Mimi says, amazing episode. Carrie says it's his favorite episode this season because he loved the prison setting. The episode was visceral and intense. Stormy gives this episode a 3 out of 5. Let's get into those ratings. What are you guys' ratings on a scale from 1 to 5? 1 being, you know, you didn't like anything about it. 5 being you loved everything about it. Where are you with this episode? I'm going to say it's like a 3.5 out of 5 for me. The episode made perfect sense. I'll say that. There's not really too much I can nitpick in terms of the plot. It was they've been very good this season about doing like a change of pace pretty often, where, so, you know, some weeks we have flash forwards, some weeks we don't have flash forwards, some weeks we have just a second of flash forward, some weeks it's mostly, you know, Arrow Cave and one villain that everybody's after, some weeks there's these storylines for all of our heroes where they're almost disjointed to the point where they don't, but like in a good way, right? So it's been a fun twist on this. And in previous seasons, not meaning to like give a compliment by insulting someone else, but in previous seasons, I could see this concept going very like bro-y, and like this season, you know, like this episode is going to be like our guy movie, you know, like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know the vibe I'm describing. And they really didn't go there. They really kept it interesting, and within the space of just the prison, they were able to have scenes that were, you know, high action. That you know, I'm not a big Dragon fan, but that the scene where he slashed the guy's throat, that was one of the more violent things they've ever shown on Arrow. So, and with the Stan stuff, Stan, I would say like he wins like the acting award for this episode. I would say he was fantastic. Let me see what y'all are thinking as well. Amanda agrees with me on Stan. She says, I love the episode and was totally surprised by Stanley, scary, great actor. This Stanley guy, 4 out of 5. Yeah, I would I would rather see Stanley be the villain than Dragon. Dragon is like I've had so many ups and downs with him, and by ups, that's really being generous. I've had no true ups. I'm just moderately interested in the Longbow Hunters, and so I'm putting up with him. And occasionally, he has moments where he seems like it's him, but with Prometheus's writing, and then I kind of like him. Anyways, Stormy says Diaz isn't dead. What do you guys think? Do you think Dragon is dead? And she also agrees she was more scared of Fatal Attraction Stan than the mumbling dragon. He is a bit mumbly. I will say there's a few people on the show that are mumbly, so I can't really fault him for that. I can kind of fault him for that because he's not good at it. But he's good at fight scenes, kind of. So it's ups and downs. Stan did a good job. We'll stick with that. Kanisha says, this is the best episode of the season so far, 3.5 out of 5. My only problem is how Oliver took on all the guards and took on the prisoner, but almost lost the fight to Diaz. Yeah, I think that they really stop at nothing, as they should. They really stop at nothing to convince us that Dragon is a good big bad. And if Dragon is the main and only big bad of this season, and they are rightfully suspecting that he might not be up to like Slade, Malcolm Merlin, what's the one I like that we're forgetting? Prometheus. There's another one I like, that's Slippy Marlin. If they are correctly suspecting that he may not be up there in terms of big bad, and again, this was an inherited big bad. We ended last season, like the baton was passed from one showrunner to another showrunner. So we ended last season with this setup of like, Dragon isn't dead. Dragon's building an army. Here you go with the show. And like, you know, like I just imagine somebody trotting along being like, love this show. Guess I'll take this baton though. And I'm stuck with everybody's least favorite villain. And I have to, you know, like I just, Suzanne Crockett says, now finally Diggle shows up for Felicity. Right? Like, where was that? First of all, Diggle had no lines in tonight's episode. Like, he was only there for 2 seconds, but at least he showed up for Oliver's release. That's good. That's fantastic. But like, where was this Diggle who was showing up before? Happy he's back now. I'll believe the best that he is back. Amanda says empathy is great and all, but Oliver should have killed Diaz. I'm mad that he is still alive. Yeah. I don't mind if Diaz is alive. I just want there to be more to the villain side. And I don't mean more to the villain side by like Diaz is the umbrella and we're just going to add more power under this umbrella until this is finally a strong enough umbrella to believably go against Team Arrow. First of all, we don't need that strong of an umbrella to go against Team Arrow this season. Team Arrow this season is frankly not the strongest they've ever been, not the weakest they've ever been, but like they're a solid mediocre. So it's not villain strength that I'm worried about. It's villain interest. And I think they just keep adding more and more and more strength to Diaz in the hopes that it makes him interesting. And like some of the Longbow Hunters might be interesting. So that might kind of work. But like that correlation is not causation. Anybody else forced to take a research class at some point that taught them that? Let's see. Kanisha agrees that Stan was a better villain than Diaz. I'm seeing that a lot in the chat. Stormy pointing out Diaz will probably hang around like a bad odor. Rengoku says he thinks it's a fitting end for Dragon. The strength drug storyline was pointless, though. It was pointless. I can kind of rationalize why they would do it. Like, that's a very classic Arrow thing to do. And from a, you know, like, not that we need to logic a superhero story, but from a logical perspective, we can see that that's already part of this universe, that that drug would probably continue to be around and continue to be refined. So if whoever is the mind behind that story really wants this to, like, if it was a big deal to them that Dragon fit in the Arrow world, that would make sense probably to them. Carrie says, I could see Stan being a Weasley thorn in Arrow's side on the outside. Yeah, Bruna says, OMG, I cannot handle Diaz anymore. Maybe that's their goal. Like, maybe they're going to turn him into the best villain ever by just, like, legitimately making us all so sick of him that we actually root for his death, not because, like, we're like, this is a fantastic evil villain, let's root for him to die, but in, like, dear God, let's kill this person off our screen. You know, like, I remember, okay, I'm going to show how old I am. I grew up watching this musical. It was a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, The Sound of Music. And there is this kind of villainy lady in it. Y'all know I love villainy ladies. Also, she was hot. And she's sort of like the opposition to the main chick, right? Y'all have seen Sound of Music. I don't really need to explain this. The Baroness, right? And she had said, I guess, at one point in an interview that she knew she did her job well because people hated her in real life. Like, they could not separate the character from the actor. And that's not what I think is going on here. But in the event where you can't get people to truly hate the villain or, like, care about the villain because, like, you know, whether it's the mumbling or the storyline doesn't fit in or, you know, whatever it is, maybe they're just like, let's just get people to hate this situation and drag it on long enough to where eventually they want, I don't know. Does that make sense? Where are y'all at with it? Mimi says it's going to be interesting to see Oliver fight without a mask. Incidentally, next week's episode is called Unmasked. And Amanda's asking plot questions. Where was the super strength drug? Diaz took one episode and forgot. I mean, he took it one episode and then forgot it, I guess. Very good point. Sometimes plot holes happen 7 episodes into a season. Rengoku says Diaz had the drug, so I can get why he would beat Oliver, but why did the new Green Arrow do better against Diaz than Oliver did? Well, maybe she's a better fighter than Oliver. Food for thought. Carrie says that was CGI Diggle. Yes, all of the scenes where Diggle behaved in ways that I would not normally want, or not what I want doesn't matter, in ways that we, people who have been watching Diggle for years and know and love Diggle, would rightfully expect him to act. That was all CGI Diggle. That was a Harvard experiment. It is now over. Mimi says to Rengoku, he was out now. Yeah, that's a good point. Suzanne says, Diggle, you got some splaining to do. I know that reference too. That was an old, you and me, Suzanne. We know our vintage TV movies. Carrie says, by the way, that whole demon thing, was that just BS or what? I'm guessing it was BS. I'm guessing, I guess at this point, that the demon was supposed to be referencing Talia, which I'll take it. Frankly, Talia has been one of the highlights of the season. Talia and Felicity teaming up would have been fantastic. Let me just throw my hat in the ring one last time for that. But I'm guessing that was supposed to be a reference to Talia, and it just was never really clarified. Maybe intentionally to get us to keep wondering. Kanisha says, I'm so happy Oliver's facial hair is gone in next week's episode. Yeah, I keep wanting to be like, it could be worse. It could be the goatee, but like it borderline is, first off, and you know, I was so anti-goatee for the longest time that I was like, a beard is better. And I'm like, I'm not sure a beard is better. It's fine. Like, he's not supposed to look good. He's in prison. And I know normally in prison shows, it's like prison break style shows where it's like drop dead bottles, you know, in prison. And I guess they just didn't want him to look like an Abercrombie model in prison. Or, it's a bad comparison. What's like dressed up Stephen Amell kind of model? Like, I don't know, kind of like celebrity dad-ish. I don't know. What do y'all like in men? I can't help you out here. Stormy says, yes, death of that horrid beard. Carrie also says he is here for the Free Bronze Tiger movement. I really like Bronze Tiger as a character. I'd be totally down for that. Stormy also says she loved Turner this episode. Let's get him out of prison. Amanda says, I'm Brazilian and I hate Diaz and his mumbling even more because English is not my first language, and understanding what he's saying is hard. I got nothing on that visitation scene. Let's trade NTA for Bronze Tiger. Yeah, English is my first language, but it is not my mother's first language. And she learned, she grew up speaking British English, but she learned American English when she came to the States. And she learned it by watching TV. And she has a strong preference for characters who enunciate, or at least good audio. Like, she often found that the audio and lighting for like British television was sometimes more difficult to hear, even though she understood it a little better because of the accent. And Diaz and his mumbling, like, I know if I were to like show that to my mom, she'd be like, I can't understand what he's saying. Turn it up. What is he saying? What is he saying? Like, every 5 minutes. We all have parents who, like, A, either have poor hearing, or B, speak English as a second language. You all know exactly what I'm describing right now. Rengoku said they should trim it and shape the goatee. Ooh, Rengoku's throwing his hat in for the goatee. What do y'all think? But they shaved it. Mimi says, I like Diaz's mumbling. Well, there we go. We got a pro mumbler. I will say, y'all don't hate me for saying this. Don't hate me. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but do you know who else on Arrow mumbles? Don't hate me. It's Felicity. Felicity mumbles too. I'm so sorry. I love her. I love her more than anybody else, but dear God, Felicity also mumbles. So I feel really bad hating on Diaz for mumbling when sometimes Felicity does too. However, she can enunciate while mumbling, and it's very easy to still understand what she's saying most of the time, as long as the audio post-processing is good. Shout out to whoever had to do audio post-processing for tonight's episode, though. Like, that could not have been easy. Rengoku says Diaz has 2 modes, mumbly or super high-pitched. I like the mumbling more. That's fair. That's fair. I would understand that. I don't like when characters get high pitch. I like low voices just in general. Low voices on women, ugh, love that. Stan. But yeah, when characters who normally have a low voice get a really high voice, that's really annoying. Stormy says, I don't buy that Oliver would be upset or shocked about Felicity wanting to shoot Diaz. She's been in favor of several villains dying. Thank you. Yes, that was the point that was confusing me right there at the end, where I was like, what is going on? Why is this supposed to be like the fight? Like, I get that villains always bring up Felicity to Oliver as their way of threatening him. Fantastic. Me too. She's the most important person in his life, or his family is, but like, she's the most important woman in his life. Whatever, right? I get it. So I wasn't surprised that Dragon mentioned her, but like, what is he going to gain by mentioning that she almost killed him? I expected Oliver to be like, shout out wifey, like, proud, like, killing villains while I'm behind bars. Fantastic. They kill villains all the time. She's encouraged Oliver to kill people. She herself has killed villains. Why are we like, what Twilight Zone are we in, where this entire season everybody's been like acting shocked that Felicity wants to kill villains, kill Dragon, kill villains, kill whatever. Like, y'all ever met her? She's never been a pacifist. That's not her thing. She's not like Barry, Mr. Let Nazis Go type of person. Just because she has like blonde hair and wears a skirt sometimes, y'all think she won't like fuck you up? Anyways, I hope this video doesn't get flagged for language. Is that a thing? Amanda says Felicity doesn't mumble. She just speaks fast. It's hard to put subtitles on her videos. Fair. I do think she gets like a little, like, she doesn't have like very, you know, like sometimes you meet people who are like in theater or ex-theater, and they pronounce everything like this, and they enunciate, and their mouth moves in time with their words, to where even if you're not very good at lip reading, you can kind of read their lips. She doesn't really do that. She kind of like, it's a much more realistic way of talking, quite frankly, which is one of the things I think I like about it, people like about it, is she has a more like relaxed but closed jaw, and she doesn't like if you lip read, which sometimes I do have to lip read, I think she would be more difficult to lip read. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Let's see what else. Felicity gave him a nod to kill Merlin in season 4, told him to kill Roz in season 3, and they weren't even personal villains to Felicity, unlike Diaz. Diaz is like enemy number 1 to her. Very true. And Stormy also points out, why shouldn't Felicity kill Diaz? He almost killed her and William. Rengoku says he'd like an alternate version of this episode where Ollie laughed and said "atta girl" when Diaz told him that. That would be fantastic. Like, can you imagine? Rengoku, get yourself in the writer's room, bro. Like, yes, that would be so funny. Suzanne agrees. Average Biker says, you're hot. Did you guys hear that? You're all hot. I mean, I knew that you all were hot, but now you know that y'all were hot. All right. That brings us to the end of our 20 minutes. We talked for 20 minutes about one setting, and time flew. That, if nothing else, should speak to the fact that this was a pretty decent episode. So I enjoyed it. It's not going to rank the highest of the season for me. I thought the ending, if nothing else, was fantastic. And I think that's pretty classic Arrow, is even if there's kind of ups and downs or like fast and slow points within the episode, when they really need to pull a good ending out, like when they really need to pull a good ending out, they do. And they pulled a fantastic ending out of this one. And I'm about to go tweet a video of it. Thank you all for joining me. Kanisha Barnes says, I think some fans are stuck on season 1 Felicity. She's been brought through much. She's been brought through too much to still be the same. Very true. She has grown. She is not just season 1 Felicity. There's still season 1 Felicity in her. But I think, I don't know if this is controversial, but if push comes to shove, I really think season 1 Felicity would have killed somebody too. Matt Shamlou says, a reviewer made it seem like it'd be the best episode on television. It was kind of disappointing. That's when they overhype an episode for XYZ reason. That's when it makes an episode disappointing. Like if this episode you had gone into it not seeing the overhype, I feel like it would have been like, oh, this is a good, interesting, fun episode. Makes sense as the end of the prison storyline. Fantastic. But when it's like overhyped to be like, this is the superhero television that all superhero television was supposed to be, and it's like, really? Then yeah, that's when it can kind of be this way. Rigo, who says James Bamford is a good director for fight scenes and elicity crane shots. Yeah, those like close up pull away shots, and the camera didn't shake for that one. Shout out, James, you came through on that shot. That was good. Yeah, good episode. They really tend to be pretty realistic when it comes to like the romantic reunion scenes. It's not like, I feel like I drag some other DC TV shows like every week, so I'm gonna not do that. Some other shows, not to name names, when they have like their reunion scenes, it's like, oh my god, I know, I'd never let you go, and it's like these big like whatever. And like I thought that the dramatic but touching kiss shot, that was very well done. I'm sure they'll have a sex scene next episode, so that'll help all y'all out. Matt Shamlou says, do you think Stanley has a personal vendetta towards Oliver, or did he actually become evil through prison? I think Stanley became evil over time. I think he always had the potential for it, and he would be good if that helped him achieve his goal, and he'd be evil if that helped him achieve his goal, but he was not innately on one alignment or the other. He's desperate, so he was going to be sort of desperately good to please Oliver, or desperately evil to get what he wants, but he was desperate more than he was ever good or evil. Yeah, Carrie says, I think Stan was an unstable serial killer before. Yeah. I think instability is what defines him. Bruna says, can't wait for next episode. Suzanne says, Diaz tried to kill Felicity and William, which means Felicity should shoot him in the head. I quite agree, and I'm a pacifist in real life, but like, yo, it's fiction. Shoot Diaz. Come on, he's human. He's not even meta. He's not special. All right, for real. I'm going to let you guys go. I'll see you all next week. I have a special guest next week. Pretty sure you guys are going to really like her. I mean, I'll be here and you have to put up with me too, but like you're really going to like my guest, I think. Okay, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.